This is a special recording for TorahAnytime.com's Tisha B'Av burst of inspiration. We know that Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the year, recalls the destruction of the two Batei Mikdashos with the destruction of Beitar, and of course the tragic loss of millions of Jewish lives that occurred at this time. And the Gemara teaches us that it's all rooted and caused by the sin of the Meraglim, which is the sin of Lashon Hara. There is a Rashi in Masli on the pasuk Vayisu meChatzeros. They traveled from Chatzeros. Vayachanu beRisma, and they camped in Risma. And here Rashi uncharacteristically gives a reason for the name Risma. Now he doesn't give a reason for many of the other names. So the Sifsei Chachamim beautifully explains that what was troubling Rashi is earlier the Torah says Va'achar nosou ha'amei Chatzeros vayachanu b'midbar paran. So we know they went from Chatzeros to Midbar Paran. So why does it say over here Vayisu meChatzeros v'yachanu beRisma? So Rashi says essentially that Risma is Midbar Paran. But why was it called Risma? Al Shem Hamaraglim, the spies. Shenemar, and Rashi here quotes the famous pasuk, Ma yitein lecha, ma yosef lach l'shoin remiyah. What can I give you? What can I add for you, you deceitful tongue? In other words, I already gave you two walls of protection, the teeth and the lips. And if you still don't guard your tongue, the result will be chitzei gibar shinunim. A person will be afflicted later with sharpened arrows of the warrior, im gachalei risamim, with coals of broom which never die out. And that's Risma, telling us the terrible burning that one will have, an unending burning for the sin of Lashon Hara. Now, what's noteworthy about this Rashi is that if you wanted to allude to the Meraglim, it could have called the place Pirah, like Piachirais. But it seems to be, when thinking about Lashon Hara, the Torah wants us to think about the punishment, because Lashon Hara is so seductive. It calls to us so much to say a good piece of gossip, to share an interesting piece of news, that we could only avoid it if we remember how terrible is the punishment. That's why the Gemara calls it Risma. We have to know that Lashon Hara Lamed Hey, go to Gehenim the easy way. That's what we were taught when we were kids. We have to know that the 24,000 Talmidei Rebbe Kiva died, which according to many of the Mefarshim was for Lashon Hara. The Gemara says, Shelo Nagu Kavod Zel Hazeh. But the Mefarshim elaborate that they spoke Lashon Hara, so they died with the Misa of Askara, a type of croup, diphtheria, which the Gemara in Brachos tells us there's 903 types of death based on the gematria of Lamavis Toitzois. Toitzois is 903. And the worst death of them all is Askara. So again, it's driving home the lesson of how terrible this sin is. Hashem likes to do everything b'derech hateva. But something is so criminal that Hashem punishes it shaloi k'derech hateva, not in a natural way. Tzaras, Mitzayra is Mitzira, the one who speaks Lashon Hara, is shaloi k'derech hateva. That's why we don't go to a doctor, we go to a kohen. It's not natural. Now the Mamloy says, yeah, you'll say to yourself, I know a lot of people that speak Lashon Hara, they have beautiful skin. Nothing happens to them. But the Mamloy tells us that there's saras of the guf, and then there's saras of the neshama, which is worse. He says that when we go to sleep in the night, neshama goes up to Shemayim, And if a person is a Baal Lashon Hara, they call out, he's tummy, and all the heavenly chambers are closed, and everyone stays away from the person. And in the next world, if a person doesn't do tshuva, they're not allowed to enter together with the tzaddikim, and they're called tamei, and they go to a special chamber in Gehenna called Tit Yavain, and there's a place there called Tzaras, and they have terrible suffering. We also have to know that the Chofetz Chaim says that if a person nowadays doesn't get Tzaras, instead of Tzaras, there's Anius, there's poverty, because just like Mitzayra Chashiv Kameis, Tzaras is considered like death, so is Anius, Ani Chashiv Kameis. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. It's an interesting pasuk. David HaMelech says, L'chu vanim shimuli, yiras Hashem ala betchem. Come, my children, listen to me. Let me teach you about the fear of Hashem. Now, with that preface, we would think that David HaMelech is going to talk to us now, probably about davening. That's the way we connect to Hashem, right? That's how we become a Yorei Shemayim, like Ramila says, we see Hashem through davening. Or maybe brachas, because it says, Ma Hashem alikecha shoyel me'imach ki im liyira, and the Gemara says, Al tikrei mo'el ameya. So if we say 100 brachas, we think about Hashem throughout the day. That's the way to become a Yorei Shemayim. Or maybe he'll tell us to study nature, like Rav Miller wrote in all of his svarim. Suei nechem l'maraim, look up high, umru mi bara'ela. Who put the sun over there? So many millions of miles away. It wasn't, a huge caterpillar truck. You see the design of the Rebbeinu Shalom. But that's not what David HaMelech says. After giving this preface of Yiras Hashem, he then says a very famous pasuk. You want to be Yorei Shemayim? Guard your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Now, what does that have to do with being a Yorei Shemayim? I mean, it's a terrible aveira, a Yorei Shemayim. So Chofetz Chaim says, if you're a Yorei Shemayim, then the first thing you better be afraid of is a sin that has so many lavin and asin, negative commandments, positive commandments, arurin, curses, and a sin that's at our beck and call every moment, and a sin that's so terribly seductive, ikulan ba'avak lashon hara. This question got me thinking. David HaMelech is probably also telling us, you want to be a Yorei Shemayim? To think what brought death to mankind. What brought death to the entire mankind was the lashon hara of the Nachash. You want to be Yorei Shemayim, have fear of God, the first thing you should do is stay away from lashon hara. And then also, if you want to be a Yorei Shemayim, think about what makes us special as humans. L'nefesh chaya, Hashem made us a spirit of life. L'ruach memalala, a spirit that speaks. So the very first thing as Yorei Shemayim is we have to be careful how we speak. The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that Adam la'amal nivra, a person was created to toil. Eni yodeim la'amal pen nivra or amal malacha nivra. Well, we created to toil with our mouth or with effort. And the Gemara astonishingly says, Kishu Aimer, quoting a pasuk in Mishlei, Ki ukaf alav piyu, you should have a saddle upon your mouth. Adam la'amal pen nivra. The premier achievement in life is how we talk. It's really amazing. And then there's something else. If we want to practice Yira, then we're afraid of the Mekatreg, the prosecutor. There's another pasuk in Tehillim. The pasuk is in Ayin Gimel Tes. Shatu b'shamayim PM u'lishaynam tihalach ba'aretz. When is the voice of the Mekatreg in heaven, the prosecutor in heaven, set against us? When our tongues wag on this world. As we head now quickly towards Elul, we're on the portals of Elul. and we're thinking about protecting ourselves from the prosecutor, we have to know that we have to still the wagging tongue. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is maftiach us that the Satan won't hold sway with us if b'shoit loshen techave, if we hide ourselves from the wagging tongue. When we don't talk, the mekatreg does not prosecute. And the same thing, when we don't listen to bad about others, then the Rebbeinu Shalom won't listen bad about us. We're getting ready to start saying, Emir Hashem, so many tefillahs, so many slichas, so many avinu malkeinus, right? So many zachreinu l'chaims. Well, we know that ain't kateger nasa nega, the prosecutor can't become the defender. So, when we're getting ready for the season of Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, I am to my beloved will be to me. And we want to be a Yoreh Shemayim. The very first step is to watch how we talk. The Gedolim advise us that the best way to work on Lashon Hara is to first start and make sure you don't mention names of people. If you don't mention names of people, you're already very much protected. If you're talking, never mention names of people. Never mention names of groups. And I want to finish with something that my dear friend Rabbi Newman of Chicken for Shabbos, great place to give money to before the Yom Adin, brings a Gula L'Olam. He told me it says, Hamavas v'chayim b'yad ha'lashon. Death and life is in the hands of the tongue. What is the word in the hands of the tongue? Hamavas v'chayim b'lashon. But you know, we said, Mayitin lach, or Mayitin lecha, Mayosef lach l'shayin remiyah. The tongue has two guards, the teeth and the lips, but the hands that text, the hands that email, that I am, and all other kinds of things, they have no guards. And they could cause mass destruction. We have to watch how we talk. We have to watch how we text. We have to watch how we email. And in the schus of such an amazing tzibur, working on the purity of their mouth, the Rebbeinu Shalom should give us all the Ula Shleima and a Ksiva v'chasima taiva u'masuka.